and make yourself a better baseball and softball player every single day. All right, so our very good friend has been coming on here every once in a while for the past couple of weeks. His name is Anthony D'Angelo, and he's part of the Fortress Fiduciary Company, and he has been laying it out on some different issues from time to time, and another one's happening today. Tony, good morning. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Lee. Thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, so where do you want to begin? You want to begin with the UCONN, buying the $740,000 house? You want to start with that?
Yeah. The news broke last week that the UCONN incoming president, Thomas Katsouleas, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is the recipient, or shall I say, he's receiving the benefit of a $740,000 house. And, it calls to mind the question of, okay, this is house number 3, effectively, in the UCONN domain. There's a house that the current president, Susan Herbst, is living in now. They've also got a crash pad in Hartford when the president's a little lazy to come back the 30-some-odd miles to stores after being in Hartford. And we have this new house. Now, that's the part that was, kind of a, OMG moment. But the thing that I looked at was, when we had discussed this, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to put my practitioner's cap on here and evaluate this. What is this deal like as opposed to other deals? Well, one of the things that no media outlet reported, and believe me, I looked. You asked me what I was doing yesterday.
Right.
The Katsouleas contract is on the UCONN website. If you go to page 8, part 8.3, buried 8 pages into the agreement, end of the first paragraph, it says, and their words, not mine, Lee, to the extent that Katsouleas' use of the university-provided housing constitutes a taxable benefit to Katsouleas, the university shall pay to Katsouleas a tax gross-up payment for any federal and state income taxes he is required to pay resulting from his use of the university-provided housing. So, okay, the housing is a part of his compensation, but UCONN is saying, hey, man, you don't have to worry about it.
Oh, man.
We're going to pay your use of the house. So he gets the use of a free house. How much does it cost to run your house, Lee? I don't want to ask you. I don't want to tell you what it costs to run my house. So that was number one. You can't find that anywhere. It's like, okay, let's walk down this thing a little bit further.
All right, but just so folks who are listening understand, so he gets use of a house and doesn't have to pay any of the upkeep for it, nor does he have to pay, the way I understood that, he doesn't pay the taxes on the house either, right?
Right, he doesn't pay the taxes on the income from the use of the house. It is one complete free ride.
Gotcha. All right.
Okay. As one of my professors would tell me years ago, you like peanut butter, you love Skippy. Here comes some of the Skippy. Now, so it's like, okay, I'm just an ignorant person, running a business. I don't know a whole lot. What are the other people doing in the industry? And there's a whole lot of rules as far as nonprofits are concerned about what's known as an excess benefit. And this is when somebody working in a nonprofit. The biggest thing to keep in mind is nonprofits belong to the public. They're not owned by people. They're supposed to serve the public interest. Museums, schools, colleges, Little League teams, it's all supposed to be a public benefit. So the question is somebody got their hand in the till? And the standard that you use is something called reasonable compensation, and if it's not reasonable compensation, it's something known as an excess benefit. So is this man in an excess benefit? Sent me through, and this is all public information, sent me through some of the other sites as to what are they doing in some of the other colleges. And I looked at Quinnipiac, I looked at Trinity, I looked at Yale, but for some reason, I couldn't find UCONN. So finally, my stupid brain kicked in. It's like, well, why can't I find UCONN? Let me go to, and this is a public resource, the IRS Charities Check, and find out, what the status is of this charity. Let's say if I want to write a donation to UCONN.
Right.
Get this. The University of Connecticut tax-exempt status is revoked. You heard that correctly.
Wait. Go ahead.
Okay, you heard that correctly. And you could listen. I'll give $5 to anybody in the audience who could show me otherwise. I'm telling you that, as we used to say, the God's honest truth. If you go to the University of Connecticut website, and it's like, if you want to make a contribution, it says, well, make it to the UCONN Foundation. The UCONN Foundation is an active public charity, but the school is revoked. Now, my first thought was, holy cow, somebody really screwed up here. But
right.
No, wait a minute. These people are not that stupid. And basically, the best way I can describe the status of the University of Connecticut, the school, it's still, it's still quote unquote a tax-exempt corporation. It's very much like a Catholic priest who is lapsed as a priest, but he's still recognized as a priest. He is still a legal entity. The school is still legal. So what happens here is that the school itself now is a taxable organization, quote unquote. It's still a nonprofit corporation. It still has to file tax returns. I have a case exactly like this in New Haven, if you can believe it. We got it resolved. And this was like, oh, okay, now I get it. If it is a taxable corporation, guess what, Lee? Those returns are not subject to public disclosure. Ain't that slick? Now, you think that's bad? It gets better. I started to say, well, what about the University of Southern California? What about,
right.
What about the University of California at Los Angeles? So many of, quote unquote, I was talking about this over the weekend with our mutual friend Bob Lazzari, so many, quote unquote, sports schools have seemed to adopt this configuration. And, because I, as a citizen, I'd like to know, how much money is the sports program making?
Right.
I mean, really?
Sure.
And when you go a little bit farther into it, there's some really good resources that are out there about the compensation of state people and people working in the state. The coaches get two salaries. They get a salary for, quote unquote, being a coach paid out of something called the special payroll of the University of Connecticut, and another one which is ostensibly for their being on the faculty. And it's like, as great as a basketball coach as Gino Auriemma is, based upon his record, I mean, what's he teaching? Lunch? It's like,
right.
And you know something? If you think that why I did this, I've just had so many friends, particularly females, who have. I've had parents come to me who I shared this with over the weekend, and they were sick. And I've had so many friends who have, 3 jobs, busted IRAs. Some I've actually helped to keep their kids in school, and it's like, it just troubles me, and I just think this information needs to be made public.
So while I have you here, okay, again, we're talking to Anthony D'Angelo. So you what's that?
Tony's fine.
Tony. UCONN sets itself up as a nonprofit, right? So when they get all of these donations and when they get the students giving, in some cases $40,000, $50,000 for a year of, enrollment for a year, the money goes into what? The endowment? Where does the money go after? Because there's got to be money left over, right?
Well, the way I understand the money from what I could gather to this point is it goes from the UCONN Foundation into the university to run the university operations. And all of that in terms of whatever you want to call it, point of fact, operational efficiency and legality is correct. The bigger question in the equity sense is, does this really, is there some kind of, room for, shall we say, interpretation?
Right. Yes. Well, that's the thing. It just seems like it's a lot. There's a lot of shady stuff going on, and and UCONN, which again has all of these benefits. Last I looked, I think their endowments it's multiple billions of dollars, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure, and they could give scholarships to students in the state of Connecticut for the next 50 years and not even see a dent in the interest that's probably in those bank accounts. Why do kids have to pay $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to go to school?
Well, and that's part of, like, maybe just the part of the argument that was covered in the mainstream media as far as the knee-jerk reaction was, well, this isn't, this house is not going to, there won't be any state money. We're going to use the rents on the properties on the campus and things like that. And I have the same conclusion as you, Lee, because it all, anybody running any enterprise knows it all comes in down one pipe and it all goes out down the same pipe. Now, there may be a million sub-pipes, but any one clog in any one pipe hurts all the other pipes. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And it's just for us to believe that, this is something that has no detriment on a $40,000 or $50,000 tuition going to $60,000. I think we're sorely mistaken.
I just think it's one thing after another after another. If you look at it as a separate entity, it's 18. It could be 18, 19 scholarships that are given for the use of that house, right? I mean, everyone wants to yell and scream that kids don't get a chance to go to school and it's too high, it's too expensive, or their loan debt is too high. Well, maybe it's time for the colleges themselves to start being much more proactive and stop being so greedy, I guess. Maybe it's just me.
I'm with you. And the thing is, it's something I think that, certainly this is not anything. I mean, I've never run into it, and I work with this stuff every day as far as following how the chain runs. And it's interesting that among the best and the brightest among us, of which I am not, a lot of the more scholarly law review articles that are out there about this new thing, which the term of art is called a benefit corporation. Even though the federal law does not recognize a benefit corporation, but a lot of these really bright law students are writing articles about, hey, there's some potentials here for abuse because things can go in and out of this thing, and it's a closed book, as opposed to a nonprofit, which is a purely open book.
Tony, great stuff, man. Thanks for doing the due diligence. We got to talk again soon. But again, Tony D'Angelo, Fortress Fiduciary Company. Again, is just one more time. If folks want to reach out to you, how would they do that?
Well, yeah, the parent organization's Paragon Trust, operating company Fortress Fiduciary. You can reach me at New Haven, Connecticut, 203-777-7334, or website is paragontrust.com.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, take care.
Thank you, Tony. Really appreciate it. Good stuff, and thanks for doing the digging.